Thanks, friends. Oh my gosh, it's so nice to have people. It's so weird to have people in the chat and in real life. This is so silly, guys. This is crazy.
It is very nice having all the people that are here and who have joined us in Twitch as well and TikTok. I can't see the TikTok chat, but I appreciate you big time. Thanks for wading through our normal tech issues.
Except way better this time because it's gonna look so good. Whereas usually we have tech issues and it's just the two of us sitting at our computers like a Zoom call.
I know we have like drinks and like cool lights on us and stuff now. So it's tech issues with like pizzazz.
But guys, we have Pat Lynch in the house. So for those of you who are not here physically in person, Pat Lynch is behind the board, right to my left, and I would like to give him a big snaps, a big round of applause for pulling all this together. Pat and his wife got here at like 4:45 to help us to get everything loaded in, get this all set up. So I really appreciate you guys being here, and and we're trying something new. So we've never been able to live stream an event. People are always asking for us to live stream what we're doing. So we thought this was a quiet little show. For those of you I'll just get started. For those of you in the room watching us online, my name's Marissa. We're here at Auspicious Brew in Dover, New Hampshire. I do a monthly live show here called One Quick Thing where we interview different folks from the community about what does it actually mean to get engaged with the community? How do we do that? What are some ways we can get more involved? So my co-host Emily has COVID tonight. Her and everybody else in the whole fucking state of New Hampshire is sick tonight, except for us here today, drinking my elderberry elixir. So this is my plug for Auspicious. Come get a delicious beverage. So Emily's sick, but I pulled my friend Aria in to do a version of our live show. So Aria, thank you so much for coming here, schlepping all the way to Dover. How are you doing? For the folks in the chat who are familiar, would you like to say hello, remind us who you are? How was your Christmas? What's been going on with you?
You know, we survived Christmas, right? Which is always the question in my household. Listen, my parents just... first of all, my name's Aria. For those that don't know me, I am just a kid from Pelham, New Hampshire. You know, I grew up in a small town, New Hampshire, traveled, came back, and now I'm taking over One Quick Thing podcast with my friend Marissa here. Shout out, Emily.
Let's not spread
Shout out,
rumors,
Emily.
First of all. I saw Aria put out a video where he's like, I'm doing a hostile takeover. And I was
stir it up.
I don't think you can make those jokes about women. I think let's cancel. Should we cancel Aria from the beginning of the show?
Yeah,
Should we just start out with
I mean, you guys need a button here, I think, like just to get me out of here once in a while. Yeah, like maybe a misogyny button. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Sinhan agrees. She says it's official, actually.
Brother.
Yeah.
So I have been an online troll for most of my life, and I realized that wasn't really doing good for the world or for my neighborhood or for my district, you know, and for the things that I wanted to see. It was bad energy.
And for your mental health.
Especially seriously. I mean, it's one of those things where you lose sleep over the stuff that you see every day, right? And you have to be able to redirect that energy into something positive, a North Star. We say that a lot. I know you're sick of hearing it from me, but that's one of those things that we need to inspire people. And I feel like meeting the community, this has been a perfect storm to speak, you know, where we're in this together, we're all being radicalized together, for lack of a better word, and we just want to fix the potholes outside, man. You know, like I'm not trying to change the country overnight. I know I can't do that, but if I can just change my street, change my neighborhood, I think that is the kind of mutual aid and the kind of start that you need to stay alive in a environment like this right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't have a problem with you saying North Star because I agree. I think it's very valid. We just have a lot of North Stars. I feel like on this show, we have now come up with like 4 or 5 North Stars.
Yeah.
So we got to hone it in because by nature, I think you only get one.
It's a constellation now, you know. We can change the rules. The science changes all the time, Marissa.
That's a good point.
There's no real, like, it invites you to change it, and maybe we will. Maybe we do have a bunch of North Stars now. Who knows?
When I was born, when I was a kid, Pluto was a planet, and it's not anymore. So why can't we have multiple North Stars,
Don't get me started on
the laws of
planets.
quantum physics do not apply.
You know, I just learned that Uranus was an official pronunciation for planet.
See, okay. I feel like what reaction to do? Okay, who in the room says it Uranus? Can you raise your hands?
I work with kids. I have to.
Homophobic.
Okay, it's about for people who can't see, it's like 50%, close to 50%.
It's interesting, yeah. These things really, I think that they changed it just because the kids were making too many jokes. That's my theory, because it was absolutely Uranus when I was a child. Somebody laughed.
Sorry,
just
say
me
again.
Saying it.
It was
no,
what?
I will not say it again because now I'm feeling attacked, and I just don't. I already got one person canceled on this show. I'm not
I can't.
gonna be next.
I I'd never heard that word pronounced like that until maybe like 3 months ago. Seriously, I've never heard it pronounced like that. And that sounds almost as bad. You know, it's almost nearly as
So they just say it with your full chest. You
Yeah.
know? Like commit.
it's a planet, man, you know?
So let's get into let's move on from as I said, I was like, I'm going to move this thing on.
Yes.
This is Aria's first time on in the stage
I'll
here.
keep going. I'm the Energizer Bunny.
I was like, I got the watch. I'm the timekeeper. I'll keep things moving along. I don't have my crochet, so I won't get lost in thought and just zone out while you're talking. And I will be participatory and move this thing along. So, okay. We want to get started. We've got, I think, some new folks in the chat that we have not seen before. Folks who have not come across us before. Let's do a little intro. Aria had the idea we do a little Christmas past, ghost of Christmas past, present, and future to take you through who we are for those of you who have only just met us. So why don't you get started? Do we want to like stagger back and forth? No, you do a full spiel.
I'll be quick.
Do a full spiel.
I'll be quick here. You know, like I said, a boy from Pelham, New Hampshire, small town, literally the most southern tip of New Hampshire. Okay, so you might as well be Massachusetts. And son of immigrants, first generation, and parents that worked their asses off. My parents were the definition of the American dream. They came here with nothing. My dad built a business from the ground with nothing. He slept in the store at times. My mom would be making him food. You'd literally pictures of me running up and down the aisles. It was a video rental store. It was a video store. So it was great. But he broke his back. He broke his back doing that for us. And doing something where breaking your back correlates to a great life. Something that we could never understand now, you know, where the amount of work that you put in doesn't actually correlate to your wealth or how well you're doing. And I think that was a very important realization for me when I left home. I had to go make it on my own in very expensive cities like Boston and Los Angeles, and realizing like how truly blessed I was. And being blessed wasn't a product of luck. It was a product of someone else's hard work. And growing up, coming into the present, you know, and you know, I ended up going to school. I went to Northeastern University. I got my master's in international politics and conflict resolution. That's my background. Like I said, I am first generation. So that was my first love, is to like peace in the Middle East. It wasn't just a phrase for me. It was something that really was like a North Star, you know? And I through that experience, I wanted to heal the world. I wanted to bring peace to the world. And through that experience radicalized me within itself, because I realized that the biggest source of conflict in the world is us. Like, I am going to work for the State Department. I think the State Department is some peace-building arm of the United States. And no, it's just a soft power arm of the military-industrial complex, right? And there's like, they don't try to cover that up with you anymore. Diplomacy is not a part of American politics because we can't sell weapons if things are peaceful, right? There's always got to be a boogeyman somewhere. And I know that very well, being Iranian, coming from Iranian parents. They're always in the news. There's always some sleeper cell that's Iranian that's being activated, you know? And I mean, I sleep, but not like that, you know? Like a lot of us sleep a lot. I mean, Iranians are like a beloved population in general. And it's just one of those, I see the otherizing, you know? I can see it. And that has led me into what we do now, to be a voice for people that were voiceless, to explain things to people that are confused by the daily things that are going on, both internationally and domestically, because it's designed to confuse us. It's designed to slow us down, to make us tired. And I was always looking for a purpose, and the purpose came in this, in being a funnel, right? We talk about being funnels. We aren't, I'm not a 30-year activist, but I think I'm meeting a lot of people that are like me who are feeling it necessary now to get up, stand up, to use your body, use your voice. And how I see this going into my ghost of Christmas future is September 8th, 2026 is the most important day of our lives. And I'm gonna say that every time me and you are live. I'm gonna say that every time me and you are together or we're speaking or I'm with my friends or family. I'm gonna tell them September 8th is the most important day of our collective lives because that's primary day, okay? And we as a collective have shied away from primary day here in New Hampshire, around the country. We don't show up on primary day, and that's when the election is won. It's not won in the general elections, it's won in primary day. And the way you get people to show up to things like primary day is you have to inspire them. We lack inspiration. We have for so long. Fear doesn't work anymore. The bad guys are here. They're not coming anymore. They're here now. So how do you get people now? You can't use fear anymore. It's not the same weapon. How do you inspire people to motivate them to become the new Tea Party? Okay? Now I'll talk about the Tea Party real quick. We have 30% primary, voters show up here. The Tea Party shocked the world. In a time just like this, low turnout, high energy group of voters, outspent 25-1. They were disciplined. They showed up. They shocked the world. Now they own the Republican Party. In like 10, 15 years. Didn't take a long time at all. So that's my story. That's my Muppets Christmas Carol story. And I've been blessed to meet you all along the way. It's a lot harder doing this when you're by yourself. It's so much easier when you have people behind you. Just like we talked about in the comment sections of my videos sometimes. It's a lot less lonely when there's like-minded people who are in there just, jousting with you, for a lack of a better word. So. Yeah,
I mean, to that point, Carter in the comments says, from conflict resolution to internet troll, what a goat. What a goat arc. So fun. I laughed. I also clocked that. I had not heard the conflict resolution piece. No, I love that. It is easier as we all do this together and finding others who feel similarly. So I'll do my past, present, and future. As I was thinking about this and jotting down notes, I was thinking about how Arya's like, you got to drop more lore. You don't drop any lore.
For sure.
So I referenced this, but I was thinking more from like a political lens as I'm coming to this. And what I don't talk about a lot is that I voted Republican for a lot of my life up until the 2016 election. And that was kind of the beginning of the process that really shifted my perspective. I think I really took a lot of comfort when I was in that stage of my life of being able to view things as very black and white. I liked the idea of like, if you worked, you got what you needed, and if you come here legally and all of these things that I now realize are so much more nuanced than I ever could have even imagined. And so, I was going through that process of, in 2016, realizing I was wrong, right? And voted for Hillary, obviously, and then kind of continued down this path of radicalization. And I'm picturing, the cop slide in Boston. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? That's like my political sort of journey, is I'm just whoosh, just awesome. Shooting me right out the bottom. So I was living in Boston for all of this. My husband and I moved up to New Hampshire in 2021. That was when I got pregnant with my one and only child, because that shit is hard and I'm not doing it again. And I love her to death, but never again. And then, that was where I started using TikTok a lot. As when I lived in Boston, I had a career. I was building a career in corporate America, working in tech as a marketer who worked with social media. And I had this great career that I was building and working my way up the ladder. And after I had my child, I was just like, this is not it, right? And so while I still do some of that work on the side, I now have more freedom to do content creation and things like that. I started using this TikTok app to just find connection in that postpartum period, because I just was depressed as fuck. I was just in such a dark place during my pregnancy. After having my child, I had a really traumatic birth, and it helped me. I like realized the magic of like, oh, you use certain keywords, and like everybody on this app then can like find you, and really starting to understand how to like make things kind of pop off. And then as we shifted into the moment that we're in right now politically, I think I started posting about Chris Pappas in like right around a year ago, where I was really in that mindset of like, oh, we need these people to step up for us right now. Like things are really, really bad, and the only thing that's standing between us and things getting worse is somebody like a Chris Pappas putting on his big boy pants. And that did not happen. And so unfortunately, me coming out the cop slide, just like shooting out across government center, that's where I've been. And so that's kind of what brought me to this experience today. I started this One Quick Thing podcast with my friend Emily around this time last year, because sincerely, we just were like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get involved. I don't know what that means. And so through this process, we've like built this incredible community. We have all these connections. I leave the house and see people that I know from the internet. Like it's crazy. So my Christmas, let's see, what was my Christmas present? That was kind of my Christmas present here. We started the podcast, trying to build more community. And then, and honestly, really leaning into the New Hampshire talk of it all, to the NH talk. And that was something that I remember consciously posting something in the summer last year and being like, I think if I start calling this NH Talk, people will do it. And it happened, and people leaned into it, and people started like
I
treating
remember
it as
when
a
you
thing.
said that, we were saying that too. I remember you clearly saying that.
I
You were
just
right.
sort of was like, I'm going to just name it. I'm just going to say it's a thing, and then people will believe it's a thing. And can you believe that's how it works sometimes? You just have to tell people it's a thing, and they'll believe you.
Just look at us. Just look at us.
Look at us. Who would have thought? And so let's see. So Christmas future, it's kind of like, where is this going?
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, I don't have political ambitions. I'm not somebody who wants to run for office. I like being in my house. I like not doing small talk with people. All of those things make it seem very overwhelming for me. But what I can do is use the skills that I have here on social media and really just like helping people show up authentically. I look back at videos I posted and the stuff that I was talking about and what I was doing even a year ago, and I've really been on this journey kind of in parallel with the social media stuff of recognizing my authentic self, embracing that, being comfortable with that. And I want to help do that for other people, because I think that this moment that we're in right now, you're talking about, September 8th, which is the most important day of our lives.
Thank you so much.
Don't forget, September 8th, put it on your calendar. But I think like as we see these primaries pop up all across the country, like we have to. The reason somebody like Zoran Mamdani is successful is because he shows up in a way that's authentic. People buy it. They connect with him. And I think we all have the power to be like that. We just have to really like kind of do the work to get there. Absolutely. And so as I think forward and like what the next year looks like is really just not just with people that are running for office, but helping find folks within the community that could run for state rep, that could run for Senate, that state Senate, for any of, or who could becoming a leader in your town, in your local community, and helping support people through that process. And so as I start to think about what the year looks like for me, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. So that's my Muppet spiel. It wasn't really funny, but it is what it is.
I love it. I mean, I love it. I think we all have that kind of story, right? We all got to this point. At least the people in this community have gotten to this point collectively, all through different vehicles, all through different means, all through different experiences. No one's experiences match. And the little the thing that I loved, or the thing that I love about what you say in your content is like where you started, how you posted. A lot of your stuff was relatable. I know you started from like mom content and some gardening content, which I dabble into. But these are relatable things, though. I mean, like, those are two things that a lot of people are, part of, regardless of their political affiliation. And I think you've opened my eyes to that a little bit, too, of becoming a funnel in areas that don't have left-leaning or liberal voices as much as, maybe they should. Like, gaming and sports. I mean, these are two things I did as a kid. I mean, I still do. You know, like sports. I could. Like I'm a huge Boston. I'm a Boston kid, right? Like I'm not your. There is this image that conservatives and the right wing, they're very good propagandists. We lack propagandists on the left, good ones anyway, and they have painted us as like a monolith. You know, like we all like none of us are sports fans. None of us go to the gym. You know, none of us, you know, women don't like us, or, you know, like it's there's these weird stories, these fantasies that they've created. And all my, you know, the guys that some of my closest friends in the world, seriously, I have never met before. Seriously, because I grew up in a time where gaming in your room, meeting up with your friends on the internet, this became our way of brotherhood. And these people have the same political views as me because they're just like a friend in real life. You're not gonna fight to keep relationships, regardless of how you feel about politics and relationships. But I think it's such a stupid topic when people are like, "Oh, how do you let politics affect your relationships?" How do you not? You know, like how do you not? Seriously, how does it not come out in everything that you do every day? And I find it so important, without going on too much of a tangent, that the people that are watching, if you guys like stuff, like you got a TV show that you love and you know the characters or something, or you're a sports fan, or, I mean, talk about it. Mm-hmm. Talk about it. Make content. Get comfortable with it. Be out there with us, because this is one of those battlefields. It's not just voting. It's not just volunteering. It is the internet spaces too, where these conversations are happening, and it's very important. That's why I'm adamant, right? I tell people all the time when they ask me, why do you deal with trolls? And I'm like, it's either all trolling or none of it's trolling, right? Mm-hmm. Like we have to use all of these experiences to our and the greater society's benefit, and I think it's very important to talk about the stuff. Think less, talk more.
Yeah, I actually like that, and that kind of ties in. I was gonna say too, I think one of the things I want to focus on more moving forward with my content too is what you're talking about, and encouraging people to use those platforms not just to talk about politics. I think sometimes I've kind of overcorrected in that direction, but what we really need is people who have political leanings to build platforms, and then you start dripping in the stuff, right? Because again, like you said, like when I started doing NH Talk stuff, I was also doing like brand deals with like water bubbler companies, you know what I mean? For adult consumption. And you know, you can talk about the thing. And so I have a lot of followers from different parts of that internet sphere, and then it lifts it, like that's the rising tide that lifts all boats. And so when I tell people like get online and start posting stuff, I don't just mean post about what's happening necessarily in the community that you're in, just posting about current events, things like that, but post about who you are. Again, going back to that authenticity piece, it's not just about what you think, but like showing people who you are, because that's how people learn to trust you over time, and that's how you start to build influence. And so I want to see more people that are in different parts of the state building accounts about what it's like to be in that part of the state. What is life like? What are the cool coffee shops you go to? What cool events are happening? Is there a cool, like, I know like there's some area, you know, pockets of New Hampshire have very active like queer scenes. There's a lot of stuff to do. There's good restaurants, things like that. Let's start talking about that stuff, and then layer in the politics on top of it. Because I truly think, as we talk about, again, September 8th, the biggest day of our lives, is, you know, we don't just need the politically active people. It won't be that if it's just the politically engaged folks. And so we need to find a way to break through to all the people that we know. We have them all in our lives that are like, I don't know, like I know that like everything's bad now, and I know that like the establishment people suck, but like I don't really, whatever. It's like this is the chance, this is the moment to like turn the tide, and we have to activate those people to do that. So again, it's more of that, it's tapping into that authenticity piece, showing who you really are, even when it's just kind of screaming at people. I was laughing at Arya over Christmas because he was like, yeah, I was getting kind of burnt out on content, and then I hit a new, I feel good. I got back into it. I'm having fun. I'm just having a great time. And I go look at his videos, and it's like 10 videos of him screaming at people about Colin Kaepernick. And I was like, Man, you and I have different ideas of relaxing, but I'm just so happy for you. If that's recharging your energy, man, I'm so happy
Oh,
for you.
man.
I'm like, I'm recharging. I'm just stepping away from the phone. Ari's
was
like,
like
I'm really going in
meditating.
on this guy. I fucking got him.
Well, first, shout out to a couple of my gamer friends in Twitch who, again, this is what I'm talking about, right? Like, there's a couple guys in here, Cody, Larry. Listen, Larry's saying playing Metal Gear Solid while he's watching you. That's a very popular game. This is what I'm talking about. Like, these guys play video games with me. They've only ever known me as someone who plays video games. It's not something, politics isn't something that comes up with like gamers in online spaces. But now, they see my channel pop up, they're gonna jump in and they're gonna watch, you know, and they're gonna get some messaging that maybe they would have never gotten in any other way. And shout out to my friends who are in here checking this out. I hope it's not too boring. All right, get back to your gaming. Yeah, listen, everyone has the things that they love to do. On the internet, I find it invigorating. It is an arena of wills, you know, and I think even when you're dealing with trolls or you're dealing with everything is a chance for you to sharpen the tool that you have. And my tool is debate. My tool is logic. My tool is explaining things like you're five, you know, which is something we're going to get into.
Are you transitioning?
Possibly, yeah. And that was my old brand, Aria Explains. And I just feel like to give a big, like an example that kind of piles on to what we said about being that tunnel, you know, or the funnel, is that people want to see you matching energy, right? Like, people are looking for fighters now. Maybe my temperament wasn't a good leadership temperament 10 years ago. But it's certainly, I mean, if I'm not seeing politicians and people step up and show some type of emotion, like show some type of fight, like, because it is, I think that's the normal emotion right now is a little bit of bewilderment. You know, like if you're not, it is, use the quote again, it's no sign of good health to be, well-adjusted in a really fucked up world, right? So like the more we talk about it, the more we show that kind of passion that's needed, I think it invigorates other people too. At least that's what the people have said to me, is that like they've been looking for someone that's this feisty. But on the left, I mean, all you see it is the right. I mean, they are the messengers. But once in a while, it's nice to have someone that's willing to step up and yell back at you with facts.
Absolutely,
you know?
and I razz you for it. But that's exactly why I was like, let's do some stuff together, because you're different than me, right? And so when we think about the funnel and the pipeline, it's like I bring in a certain crowd and you bring in, the gamers.
You have humanized the shit out of me. For sure. You know, you give me the soft, like, they're like, like, who is this guy, like, just yelling at people? And then they see that me and you do shows, they're like, okay, maybe he's all right, because he's, like, with her. And, like, you've completely humanized my message, which I can't appreciate enough, because...
You're welcome.
Not, how many times is a bearded tan man going to yell at you on the internet and you're not going to feel, some kind of way? But now I got Marissa to cover my tracks now. Thank you.
This is why I brought Aria tonight, to just blow smoke up my ass. I appreciate it greatly. Please. Okay, so we're going to transition we're going to play some light games here. So I've been at home for the last 2 weeks with a 3-year-old. And we are in the phase of everything is just why? Why is that? Why? And then you give them the answer, and that's not good enough. And you have to say why. And you're like, I don't know how to explain why stoplights are important. It's like, so we don't hit other cars. I don't know what to tell you. But I thought, sometimes there's a couple of topics that we kind of keep coming back to as like big sort of core under issues that we're talking about at length. So I want you to explain to me, to the audience, to folks watching at home, and folks who will be watching the inevitable TikTok clip of this in 7 to 8 business days. What is, no pressure, to whoever's doing clips. So let's explain it to me like you're talking to a 3-year-old. I would like to know, let me check my notes. Why can't we afford houses in New Hampshire anymore? Why can no one afford a rent? They can't afford rent. No one can find a place to live. Why can't anybody buy a friggin' house?
Baby, want cookie?
Yeah, please.
Oh, okay,
Bring me
very
some
good.
snacks.
A 3-year-old, geez, it's a little bit young. I would say, sorry, repeat the question one more time.
Housing.
New Hampshire is going through the worst housing crisis the country is seeing. New Hampshire is a extreme version of what is happening in the country.
But like, why can't we buy houses?
So it's a good question. Why? I mean, it's because we lack something like 30,000 houses right now, today. Like, as if, like, if you snapped your fingers and you built 30,000 houses overnight, you just now enter market stability. That's a stable market. 5% housing, vacancy, whether it's like rentals or, and they're saying to keep the rental vacancy at 5, you're going to need 90,000 houses by 2040.
I'm three.
Okay. Oh, perfect. So imagine, right? Okay, imagine there are 100 babies that live in a town. Okay? There are 100 babies that live in a town, and only 50 of the babies have houses that they can live in the houses, right? And the other 50 babies are looking to compete with each other with the 2 or 3 houses that are available of the complete houses. But 2 of the biggest babies, okay, they own really big cribs.
Are they mean babies?
Really big houses, right?
Are these mean babies?
They're pretty mean babies. They're
Okay.
gluttonous babies.
Okay. Do they eat fruit snacks all day?
Yeah. Yes.
Disgusting.
Yes. Exactly. And they have decided we have these really big cribs, houses, right? And we want to make sure our cribs stay really pretty, like stay really nice. We want the other babies to want to live in our cribs forever, for generations. We want our babies' babies to live in this same crib and have other people's babies jealous of the cribs. So what these babies did is they made a rule saying that if you want to build a crib, you better build your crib 100 yards away from our crib. Do not put, they call that restrictive zoning.
Is that why we can't build 30,000 more cribs? Why can't we just build 30,000 more cribs?
Because those big babies wrote rules and laws to make it impossible for you to build 30,000 houses because of the rules designed around spacing of cribs and where the cribs have, what cribs have access to, like water and sewage. They call these things zoning, restrictive zoning. And it's not a political thing. It's not like the liberals and the Republicans.
Yeah, who are the bad babies?
The bad babies in New Hampshire are called NIMBYs.
Okay.
They're your neighbors that are not in my backyard. Mm-hmm. They're the big babies, right? They're the big babies that are creating the rules that are saying, you know what? You need to have the house that your crib is inside better be 100 times the size of the crib before you can live in the crib in there.
Okay, wait, no. Okay, hold on. I'm 3 again. Well,
Okay.
What?
So just maybe that's a little bit more complicated, but basically like
This is actually weirdly helping though. I'm going to do this again.
There are acreage rules, a lot of acreage rules. That's one of the big things in New Hampshire towns is that these towns made it so you couldn't build property on land that was like less than 2 acres, 3 acres, which is insane. It's a huge amount of land.
Yeah.
Especially in a state, again, I haven't thrown the statistics out there, you're talking about 0.6% rental vacancy. Nothing is available.
Jeez.
Nothing. I haven't moved in 5-6 years. My rent keeps going up. And that's the worst in the country, right? And then you have increasing unemployment, increasing homelessness, increasing eviction rates. And on top of those things now, you have no rental protections. And just this past year, they passed no-fault eviction. It literally can't get any worse here. Like, I want to paint you guys like a really scary picture for someone even like me.
And if you're a baby listening to this,
if you're a baby
plug your
listening to this,
ears because it's going to scare you.
I'm a baby with a medium-sized crib or whatever, and there are babies that are just throwing their weight around, right? And the really big babies are deciding to themselves that like we can actually charge whatever we want for these cribs, because now the law protects us. They have made forced displacement legal. They have made, they leave you at the kindergarten now. No one's picking you up from the kindergarten. You're on your own to figure out where, is there another kindergarten within 100 yards of you? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so to wrap this up, back to I'm a baby again.
Mm-hmm.
How do we fix this so that literally and figuratively all the babies can get some cribs?
There are two aspects of this that are very important, and people will tell you different things, but I think housing experts, and I'm certainly not one, I'm just a concerned citizen that has jumped balls deep into cribs, okay? I'm sorry, no. Sorry, oh my God, this is, that is
We're gonna
terrible.
move on.
Cut
We're gonna move on
that.
quickly.
Where's the button? Where's the fucking button? Oh, God damn. Jesus Christ. No one's going to remember anything about this stream. No one's going to
move past it.
So the important thing is there's two aspects of this. You can't focus on one thing and not the other. One thing is you have to protect current tenants. Mm-hmm. It's the most important thing, right? I can't tell you, Marissa, how many times I make a video about how New Hampshire sucks, right? And people get offended by it. They're like, oh, move to Massachusetts. Like, bro, they're moving from Massachusetts here. They're replacing you in real time. What do you mean move to Massachusetts? I have to move to Maine at this point. And not for nothing, nothing against Maine. Maine's in the same predicament, right? Mm-hmm. We're all in the same predicament. It is one big crisis. But if you want to keep New Hampshire voters in New Hampshire, if you want to keep New Hampshire residents in New Hampshire, you have to protect New Hampshire tenants. Mm-hmm. You have to protect your grandmother. These are our grandmothers, our uncles, our aunts. These are people that have lived in New Hampshire for generations that are being gentrified out of, they're being pushed out of New Hampshire. Same thing happened when I was in Boston at Northeastern. They were just pushing the locals out. I'm watching it happen under the guise of freedom, right? It's like always about freedom. Blow your own limbs off over freedom, and it's like, the freedom to die. That's what you're really giving us, the freedom to just every man for themselves. And if they up my rent tomorrow, or like my next lease by 30%, 40%, I legally can't do anything. People don't realize that we have no options. There's no basic protections. And that's a very scary place for a state that is not doing well financially to begin with,
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody in TikTok comments says, so are the babies the mafia?
Yes.
The big ones, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about the mafia, yes, if the mafia is both parties, like just wealthy people, right, that are more interested in their home value than they are in working class families. That's all it is. And again, this isn't party related, right? In New Hampshire, maybe it happened to be a lot of Republican towns that were the forefront of this, but in Massachusetts, it's all liberal towns. There's NIMBYs in Massachusetts doing the same thing, arguably worse, than the ones in New Hampshire. So it's one of those things where we have to speak with moral clarity here, right? And so to bring up the NIMBY, that's the second part of it. One part is protect tenants. The other part is build, build, build. We need to have an overnight time to put these zoning restrictions to the side and just build out as much as we can while protecting these tenants. And I personally think, listen, if I'm John Kuiper, okay, if I happen to be John Kuiper, one thing I say is we freeze rent until there's 5% rental vacancy. You just put it out there. You say, you know what, we are going to put in laws in New Hampshire. I'm going to do a state of emergency, whatever. We are going to freeze New Hampshire rent until you get, we're going to put rent control, not freeze. Rent, two different things. Until the vacancy gets back to 5%. There you go. Now you have motivated all these landlords, all these real estate agents to start building. Because if you don't build, you can't up the rent, man. I mean, that's the rule. It's like, and we don't have to negotiate with these people. This is our money. These are our taxes. In Finland, okay, just one example.
And then I'm cutting you off.
Yeah,
you're done.
It's your turn.
I'm 3 and I need to go take a nap.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, so in Finland, they said, if we go and we put out windmills outside, we build a bunch of spinny, cute fans, then you'll get a crib for free. Are you okay? Are you okay with that? You're not okay with that? Too bad. We're going to go do that because that's what's good for you, right? And that's good for the environment. Now, people are going to say don't be authoritarian, but that's a capitalist country too. They do the right things. They take care of their citizens. And if one company or one group is not going to do it for you, competition will ensure that there will always be another baby, okay, to help you out here. You don't have to stick to the big babies. The next baby is willing to come help you out.
All right. Well, I would like in the comments, please give us a score of 1 to 10 on how we did sticking to the metaphor.
Listen, that one was always my weakest metaphor. Just wait till the next one. Okay?
I was gonna skip. But if you have a good one, we'll do it.
Yeah, I got the next one. The next one's a good one. The next one's a good one. Next one's a good one.
All right. The next one is. All right. So this is, again, I'm a baby.
Yeah.
I'm 3.
Yeah.
Why do you, and this is why I was going to skip it because it was taking a turn, but you have an answer, so I'm going to ask it.
Yeah.
Why do you care so much about what's happening in Gaza? What is AIPAC? Why can't we let New Hampshire representatives focus on New Hampshire?
Okay.
I'm a very well-spoken baby.
Okay. Imagine there's a juice box in your town. Okay? Like a really big juice box. And this juice box is full of things that are supposed to help your town. Okay? It's supposed to help your education, your health care. That's the juice box. It's for everyone. AIPAC is someone from outside of the town, comes into the town, pays the leader of the town to start using the contents of that juice box for things that will not help you.
I don't get any of the juice.
You don't get
But that's my juice box.
What they want to use the juice box for is to fill up water balloons to throw at their neighbors. And if you criticize the leaders for taking the money to touch the remnants of the juice box that don't belong to them, then they call you meanies, big meanies. You're a big meanie for telling us that, we can't pay to touch the juice box. But the juice box is being used to chuck water balloons at neighbors. What's inside those water balloons can be used to feed other babies in your town.
We need the juice.
Yeah, we need the juice. The juice is ours. And the juice is certainly not there to be used aggressively, to throw at people.
You'd think some of the juice could be used to give cribs to babies. Theoretically,
there
right?
You go.
Couldn't some of the juice be used to solve the crib problem?
You're better at the metaphor thing than me. Yes, for sure. And that's what it's all about. It's not about, again, Gaza. It's like you take the morality of the issue, which is you can't at this point. But this is about liberation of us. This is freedom for us. This is our own liberation of, where our collective labor is going. And that's the ultimate thing here. Like, if people don't understand, it's your taxes are going somewhere. They're not going to anything that helps you. It only hurts you. It only gives away your juice box.
And I am a 3-year-old, and I want all the juice boxes to stay in my house, and I want to drink the juice boxes.
Absolutely.
I think that was honestly good. I was a little bit scared
I'm
of that
glad,
one. That's why I was gonna.
Because the first one was brutal for me too. Trust me.
Oh my God. Do you want to do the last one, or do we want to skip ahead?
Sure. We can do the.
This is also kind of a dark one.
Yeah, I'll be quick.
But so again, I'm 3. Talk to me about ICE. Why are you mad at ICE for arresting criminals?
So imagine, right? We're gonna play cops and robbers, me and you, right? And they're one side the babies are cops and one side the babies are the robbers, and we have said, you know what, cops, these are the rules in which you have to go after the robbers. Mm-hmm. And we want a contest for this. So we want a contest where people came out and they decided that maybe they were okay with this level of these rules involved, which is the robbers maybe are not from your town. Maybe the robbers don't have actual physical proof of that they're robbers at all, or that they're people that are from that area. And what the police do in this example is they don't follow the rules. They follow their own rules. They follow personal rules. They follow things that are being told to them are things that they're imagining or things or nothing at all. And so the problem is not that people are against finding criminals, it's actually finding criminals, right? Are you actually spending that money to go find the people that are problematic instead of our neighbors, our friends?
It's almost like the robbers that we're going after aren't actually robbers. The robbers are actually the big babies who have the biggest cribs. And like they're probably the real robbers.
Absolutely.
Who we should probably be going after. But instead they want us looking at the other robbers.
They they convinced the supporters of the cops that their problem was the robbers. The robbers, not the robbers, right? And I think that is the ultimate, it's all one big game of cops and robbers, and we're never chasing the right robbers, ever.
Absolutely. All right, that's it. That's it for Explain It to Me Like I'm 3. Again, I don't know. We'll
gonna have to work
workshop
on that.
that one.
We're gonna have to
I like.
yeah,
You know
we're gonna have to
what?
work on
I
that.
like it as a format. Still, I'm gonna stick with it. I like it. I like it because it actually does sometimes help. It helps me, and I think it also helps other people kind of like wrap their heads around some of this stuff. So speaking of, I want to take the opportunity to transition into the ICE stuff a little bit more seriously. I'm gonna pull the lappy up here on this one so I can read from it. But basically, a lot of folks have seen this news already. A lot of people are talking about it online. I want to take the opportunity to have a little conversation about it today. So the Anheuser-Busch Budweiser plant is closing in Merrimack in early 2026. And they are entertaining the idea of turning that into a facility, a detention facility, to house, I'm trying to actually see if I have the numbers here. But it's very upsetting. We are one of, I think, 16 states maybe who have been identified for a facility of this kind. There is a lot of organizing happening around the town meeting in Merrimack that's coming up on January 8th. And we will both be there, basically trying to get as many folks outside of this town meeting as possible to indicate that the community is not supportive of this kind of project. I've been involved in some of the stuff that's happening to push back against ICE here in the Seacoast. And the importance of people showing up quickly and vocally cannot be overstated. This is about pressure. This is a pressure moment. And so while the sort of wheels are working through, there's a lot of conversation happening on Facebook, a lot of finger pointing of kind of whose job it is to fix this and how do we deal with it. It seems like it's settling in that it's like really we need to be leaning on the federal delegation to push back on this. But yeah, I'm curious what your perception on this is as well. I know you've been kind of in the weeds on it the last few days.
Yeah, I mean, I think shows of force are the most important thing, right? And I think there's a lot of like propaganda out there too, where they're saying I've seen some things and some pushback about like filming ICE and how it's illegal now, and no, it's not illegal. You can film ICE, and there are these like kind of narratives that are coming out regarding ICE and what they're doing that are supposed to be like chilling to us, right? They're supposed to scare us from showing up. They're supposed to make us kind of fear that there's some like, but let me tell you the truth. ICE is having trouble recruiting right now. I mean, part of my part of a series of videos I want to make is like I want people to be aware that like we are very Russia coded right now. America's going very into what Russia is right now, where you talk about kind of the oligarchs. Who are our oligarchs? There are the tech bros, you know, Elon Musk, Google, Apple. These are our oligarchs right now. And they'll decide if Trump is done. You know, it's the same with Russia. Oligarchs will decide when Putin's done. There's no voting, you know, and right now, if they want Trump gone, Trump will be gone. If Wall Street wants Trump gone, he'll be gone. And it's important for us to know that we need to, showing up in force, showing up with bodies in space, that is a form of propaganda too. And we need to be fighting fire with fire. We need to be showing up. We need to be giving people the confidence to show up as well, because sometimes there's a bystander effect going on, right?
Yeah.
So
There was this summer, you and I both, you came with me to something at Pease this summer, and I think Bridget was there too. And something that we saw play out at some of the airports that were happening, for those who haven't been following along, is there have been transportation flights for detainees that for a period of time were coming through Portsmouth, through Pease. There was a huge community pushback on this. It could have been bigger. It could have been a lot bigger. I say huge. It could have been a lot bigger. But what we saw happening was there were a handful of smaller regional airports that were handling these flights, and as these protests were popping up in response, they were moving the flights, right? And they were literally saying, okay, there's too much heat here. We're going to turn this off. And I think sometimes people hear that and think, well, then oh, well, why bother? But the point is we are all sand in the gears, and we have to continue to be sand in the gears, and we have to make it difficult. And because that's what this period of time is they are pushing, and they are seeing how hard they can. Again, it's like a 3-year-old, right? They're pushing and they're seeing how far they can push. And if we just let them, then it's over, right? And so it's incredibly important that we show up for these moments, that we show up for our community. And like you said, there's so much sort of fear around right now. I see it talking to fellow white people who will say to me, are you sure you want to talk about this stuff publicly? Because there's lists and they're tracking social media. And I'm like, they have said to Pat earlier, I was like, Elon has all my biometric data, I'm sure, already, right? He's got my social security number. He's got my medical, it's whatever, you know what I mean? And so if you are somebody who has the security and the ability to be speaking out and putting yourself in these situations, it's incredibly important that you do that. And so again, I think the date, I'll pull up the flyer just to double check, but is January 8th, 7 p.m. in Merrimack. Aria and I will be there. We'll be broadcasting live in whatever capacity that we're able to. We're going to be doing a lot more just showing up and trying to put a camera. And sometimes we get told no nicely, and sometimes we get told no by scary men with guns. But we're going to keep doing that because it's really fucking important. So, yeah, what else? Anything else that you're seeing about this that you want to talk about?
I mean, I think the sand in the gears thing is such a great way to explain it. There's no, it's kind of like racism and fascism. There's no middle ground. You're either anti-fascist or you are making it easier for fascism, right? And I think being active is very important. And I think the other just little thing is just to connect to the whole ICE thing and what they're doing with because it's the Anheuser-Busch warehouse that they're thinking about kind of signing away. And I think there's just such a juxtaposition when it comes to the Saint-Gobain building. Is that how you pronounce it? Saint-Gobain? It was there was a report that came out recently. The Saint-Gobain building is as a textile plant or something in Merrimack, and has resulted in poisoning the water supply in Merrimack, has poisoned the ground, has resulted in something and David Bates has talked about this. He talks about this a lot. He actually opened it up for me, but you're talking about a 40% increase in kidney cancer.
That's a huge number.
It's insane. That's not all over. You're talking about this is a Flint. This is almost worse than Flint. I mean, because I can't remember if there were reports of increased cancer rates. There must have been. I'm sure there was. But 40%.
It's huge.
Kidney, and you're talking about that's just Merrimack. They're talking about Manchester now. They're finding some reports that this is spread because they had plumes that was just glitter of just junk that they were feeding us with. And there's this juxtaposition where we are that's happening in the same town as the negotiations of the ICE warehousing. Where are our priorities here? Who are we protecting here? Because right now the whole thing is this company is trying to negotiate natural disillusion of whatever these chemicals are. They might not even have to pay for this, and it's surreal. And I think it's our job. Again, this is why it's so important to talk about these things incessantly, because truth is stranger than fiction, man. There's no conspiracies anymore, man. When stuff like this is happening right under your nose, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have one last thing I wanted to touch on before we move on from this topic. And then we're going to talk about electoral politics for a little bit and talk about what's going on, speaking of our federal delegation. But I did want to share this just because I find a lot of people are not aware of this information, that we already have ICE contracts with our jails here in the state of New Hampshire. So this is an article that just came out in December, earlier this month. Number of people being held in federal immigration custody in New Hampshire has doubled in the past 6 months. So we have 338 people being detained here, according to the latest data. 140 of those detainees are at the Stratford County Jail in Dover, New Hampshire, which is where we are right now, and 198 at the federal prison in Berlin, New Hampshire, according to the latest numbers. So the Stratford County Jail in Dover has had this contract to house ICE detainees for a long time, which has made it sort of harder to, I think, activists have had a harder time kind of getting in there and making that kind of making change there, which is why this opportunity in Merrimack is very important for people to get out there soon, get out there immediately, get in front of it before this stuff starts breaking ground. Because again, it's like the fucking cop slide in Boston. It's like that. It's hard to stop. So we will be there on the 8th if you would like to join us. Again, we'll put this information in the Discord as well. I'll do a little plug for the New Hampshire Talk Discord. If you have not joined it, it's a great opportunity to connect with like-minded folks in the community. If you're not somebody who likes to make TikTok videos too, it's a great way for you to just like get in there with a bunch of other folks. There's almost 200 people in there from all over the state that are doing various kinds of organizing, involved in different kinds of activity. So that's my commercial for the NH Talk Twitch, the NH Talk Discord. That is linked in my bio if you would like to check it out. All right, shall we talk about some elections?
Let's do it.
Okay, we've been talking about September 8th, the most important day of our lives.
Yes.
The most important day of our lives.
You're such a quick learner.
Where should we, okay, cancel button. All right, where should we start? Who do you want to start with?
Well,
let's talk about who we're talking about. We've got the Senate seat. Mm-hmm. We've got 2 congressional seats, and we're going to talk about the governor race a little bit.
Yep.
I think one of the pieces I want to talk about, and some of the folks who are in the chat who are in here with us all the time have probably heard us talk about this ad nauseum, but let's talk a little bit about what's happening with the Senate, because I think a lot of folks in New Hampshire are having a hard time tracking like the seat shuffle that's happening.
Absolutely.
Because we really are seeing our federal delegation playing musical chairs and just sort of saying, okay, Chris, it's your turn now because I'm done. And then once you move your seat, then we let Stephanie come in and take your seat. So we'll get a little bit more specific with that. But I guess let's start with the U.S. Senate seat. And that is the seat that's currently held by Jeanne Shaheen, who is retiring and will not be running for re-election. Some folks might hear that and be like, that's great news, but it's actually, complicated, because by the time she announced that, within, I think, a month and a half or so, by the time Jeanne Shaheen announced that she would not be running for re-election, Chris Pappas had announced that he would be running for that seat, which then leaves Chris Pappas's seat of CD1, his congressional seat, available. Who is running for that seat, who is being treated as the heir to the throne? That is Stephanie Shaheen, who is being treated by many within the New Hampshire Democratic Party as the de facto nominee. Chris Pappas is being treated as the de facto nominee for Senate, which is not the will of the people. We will see as the primaries play out, but that is not in alignment with what we're hearing from a lot of polling data, what we're hearing from a lot of people on the ground. And so let's talk a little bit about what your thoughts are in the Senate.
Man, how much time you guys got? No, I mean...
we got 40 minutes until we all need to be out the door.
I'm not sure if we can make it. I think Yeah, I mean, I think we are it's just blatant now. The kind of musical chairs is blatant now. They're not interested in primaries. They're not interested in thinking about what we want to do. I mean, just look at the national Democrats in that autopsy, the 2024 autopsy, right? For those that don't know, the Democratic Party, the chair, promised us that they would do an autopsy on the 2024 election for the Democratic Party, release it to all of us, so we knew what the deal was. And again, this autopsy was like 300 interviews with party activists. These aren't leftists, not communists, socialists. These are from all 50 states, party activists that they did interviews with. And they don't want us to know that. They're blocking it. They don't, because their entire strategy is anti-Trump sentiment. That's it. They're just banking that you hate Trump so much that you will vote for whoever they tell you to vote for. And I'll tell you, we're going to talk about the candidate I work for too, but as someone who is now in the weeds on these things, I'm seeing how stacked the deck is against anyone willing to, they say, if you're going to aim for the crown, you better not miss, right? And that's that's what's going on here. These are, like, Ray Buckley's a kingmaker. That guy is very important to the national Democratic, because we have
He's the Democratic Party chair.
He's the Democratic Party chair because we are first in the nation primary. So we have a lot of pull with the National Democratic Party, and these guys are kingmakers. So I think what's happening in the Senate seat is just a microcosm of what's happening all around the country, which is you have an establishment party that's not willing to learn from their mistakes, not willing to learn from from their own electorate, not willing to listen to their own electorate. Because I think the bag is good. Mm-hmm. I think the election bag is good right now. I don't think maybe winning is not as good as losing for the bag. These are the questions we need to start asking each other, that it is very odd sometimes, especially New Hampshire has got a microscope on it right now over the past 6 months, because our representatives are acting very fucking odd when it comes to the will of the people, the will of the National Democratic Party. There's very odd stuff going on between the New Hampshire
There's some
delegates.
of the most highly ranked bipartisan representation, which maybe 10 years ago is sounds like a good word, but it's not bipartisan in the sense of collaboration. It's bipartisan in the sense of folding for corporate interests,
exactly.
Folding for whatever the establishment interests are. So in terms of that Senate race, there are a couple of progressive challengers that are honestly great. I personally am supporting Karishma Manzoor in the Senate. I think she has a fantastic policy point of view. I think she is talking about the issues that we want to see somebody talk about. Jared Sullivan's fantastic as well, a really great person that we've met a few times. He's also in that race. Anything else on the Senate piece you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I wanted to say the same thing about Karishma and Jared, that they are both progressives, And my only strategic advice would be finding out, which one of them the voters want or support, and then coalescing around the progressive ASAP, because we're going to need to do that to have any shot at the machine. So I'm also a fan of Karishma. I think as of right now, gun to my head, I think she would have my support too. I think she's saying all the right things, and I think Jared has a hell of a future too. I don't think he's going away. Maybe not even in this primary. He might. It's not over by any stretch of the imagination. I'm certainly not someone that is going to say don't primary. I think it's healthy for democracy. So.
Absolutely. So as we're talking about the musical chairs, we've got now, that means Chris Pappas's seat has opened up in CD1, speaking of progressives needing to coalesce around a candidate, we're desperately in need of some of that kind of motion. Again, we and a lot of folks that are watching, I know, are very familiar with Heath Howard, who is, again, fantastic. Heath is one of those people that just shows up, right? Heath shows up where he needs to be. He says the things that he needs to say. He's got an incredible record. He's got a record with all the, for voting in the ways that progressives want people to vote. He's consistent. And I just appreciate I appreciate him. So he's who I'm supporting in that race. He's really got it tough because not only is he running against Stephanie Shaheen, you've got Maura Sullivan in that race too, who Maura Sullivan is also quite an establishment darling, and is coming from a good amount of money as well. So again, Heath's really like that working class kind of candidate. Any thoughts on that race from you?
Yeah, I mean, lots of thoughts. I mean, for all of them. I mean, again, the strategy here, right? And for Stephanie Shaheen, right? Like that's the big, Jean Shaheen's daughter, who is the crown, the heir, I guess. Of,
No experience.
Yeah, exactly.
No government experience.
But we do have the gift of Maura Sullivan in the race currently. Maura Sullivan is another establishment. She's actually part of the what is it, executive? She's like a chair in the Democratic Party, the second chair, the third chair, which is odd to begin with. Being one of the chairs and running for public office is crazy. There's a lot of crazy things happening in New Hampshire. But I think Heath has a gift right now where those two campaigns are going to kind of cannibalize each other's voters for a while until one of them pressures the other to get out. And it becomes a race for Heath. Can he get the progressives to coalesce around him? Because I think there might be one or two other progressives. There's a handful of people in that race, right? I don't know them all nearly as well as I know Heath. He has my support as well. But I do think that the progressives in that race need to decide that even quicker, because you got 3-4 progressives there. And I do think Heath has shown that he's able to win in a difficult place. And I think that's the populist nature of who he is. And I think we are hungry for populism here. And just to give people metrics, right? 20,000 votes, 25,000 votes in that race. That's the calculations I've done. That's it. That primary, Heath gets 25,000 votes, it's over, he wins. And that's a historical number. Go look at all the other split primaries, all the other times where there were multiple. Chris Pappas won that seat in his primary, 25,000 votes. That's it. That's all you need. It is doable. It is so doable. You talk about one day. What day?
September 8th.
Yes. That's the day we show up. That is, again, it's disconnected primary voters who are excited on generals. I say 30% of primary voters show up on primary day, 93% show up on general. It's not people who hate politics, okay? They feel like they have nothing inspiring to show up for in the primary. So I'm a big fan of Heath. I do like to throw these numbers around a lot, that to give everyone a little bit more hope that this is not millions of votes. This is not really, I wouldn't even consider this a miracle. I consider some things a miracle. This is not a miracle. This is below the level of a miracle to get 25,000 people to vote for Heath. And I think I'm excited for him. I'm excited to see how that race goes.
Yeah, I remember I met up with Heath a long time ago for coffee, like when I was first starting on TikTok, and he was telling me about his experience being in a very red district, and he can because he's the type of person who will sit down with you and have a conversation with you, and you're like, okay, yeah, I can really, he can make things make sense to people. Explain it like maybe I'll explain it like I'm 3 with Heath. I bet he would be really good at that.
He's
game.
Probably way better than me. Yes,
I think you really tried,
sure.
and you brought an
tried
energy
my
to
hardest,
it that I appreciated.
I'm on the spot. I'm usually way better. I'm ashamed with myself.
You did. Honestly, I thought you did okay. Well, we're gonna keep practicing it though. What have we got here? Carter had said, I'd personally like to see Jared and Karishma decide who is gonna run for the open seat and who is gonna primary Hassan. And I think that's like another important conversation to keep having, not one we're gonna have today because we don't have time.
Yeah.
But I think it's very important that we need to this point of like building these coalitions, like it has to start sooner. These people with that, especially when they're working on campaigns without money, have to start sooner. Speaking of campaigns without money, you are working on one of those.
Yes, I am. It's been very fun, very interesting.
Yeah, tell us about CD2.
So CD2, listen, people are going to call me biased, but I don't think there's a clearer choice. I mean, I don't think there's a clear discrepancy in CD2. Maggie Goodlander, that's who our incumbent is. And I am working for Paige Boschman, who is a state rep out of Nashua, where I live. And I am her comms director. And I am feeling a lot of imposter syndrome a lot of the time. And then I realized, you know what? No, I am just like everyone else. And my message here resonates, just like Paige resonates. And Paige is a fighter. And I just think,
who's she running against?
She's running against Maggie Goodlander, who is the incumbent, right? So I think it's very important. Again, I talk a lot with you. I talk about it in my campaign. I talk to Paige about this a lot. That I think contrast is what is going to win you these elections. You need to provide contrast to people. And when it comes to contrast, and again, my advice for contrast would be for everyone in all of these federal races, that the closer you move to the Republicans, the less chance you have. The more you show the contrast between you and those in power, including Maggie Goodlander, who, again, Maggie Goodlander is much closer to Republicans than she is to us.
And I think that was appealing in New Hampshire for a long time. And I think that's
Absolutely.
part of what we are railing against so hard, is that is not a pro. That is not a positive to be aligned with these guys most of the time.
Absolutely.
We need different leadership. We need bold leadership. And I think Maggie Goodlander is a perfect example of somebody who is absolutely willing to fall in line, who is not willing to stick her neck out for the hard stuff. And we've seen that play out, even though she's only been in Congress for 2 years now. She's still very new. We have seen how she is doing what the donors are asking her to do. We see it time and again.
She was handpicked. Okay, she was selected, not elected. Right? That's a phrase I love using because, again, like 0.07% of her funding is grassroots.
That's like such a crazy stat.
It's a
0.0
disgusting stat. Like, and I tell and Paige, as part of the messaging, right? Because I'm in her ear about the messaging, and I tell her, and she's like, "Oh, less than 1%." I was like, "No, Paige, you say 0.07%. Don't say less than 1. That is like exponentially more than 0.07%. You use that exact stat because it is insane. You know."
That's like one guy wrote like a $5 Act Blue donation. Like, I want to know how much money that is specifically. And who was it? I want to know.
I want to know too. Actually, maybe
You could
that's
probably
a
figure it out
project.
on
Maybe
Open
it's like an
Secrets.
Easter egg now. I go find out who this one guy in Grafton, New Hampshire, voted for. Gave Maggie Goodlander $5. Like, get out of here! Oh my God, that would make me crazy. I'd probably get more mad looking that up. Actually, maybe I won't do that. But yeah, it's egregious, right? It's egregious, and I think. I don't know how that appeals for a state. Trust me, for a state where all I hear from people is, "Oh, Massachusetts, that place sucks." Like for a place that I just hear so much complaining about the status quo. It's just this person is nothing like. She's a carpetbagger, right? Like when you talk about like not being from the state. Just being handpicked by the Biden administration coming here, and you are getting all this money, you're taking AIPAC money, you are saying yes to votes. You're voting no on Trump impeachments, you're voting yes on Laken Riley. I mean, I don't think there's a clearer, that's why I jumped on Paige's campaign so quick, to be honest, without getting too crazy. Like people ask me, why Paige and not, because honestly, like, I don't think there is an easier place for a contrasting message to give this kind of populist, progressive message. So
Absolutely. And to your point, so many of these races are like, we don't need a lot of, the volume of votes isn't huge. And so if we get progressives mobilized around even some of these other candidates, like some of these Senate candidates, or let's move on to like our gubernatorial candidates, for example, if we can get some energy there, we can really like get a progressive sweep going, right?
Yeah.
It's, again, not a miracle. Is it a long shot? I'm not stupid. Sometimes people talk to me like I'm a fucking idiot, but like I know that, but it is very, very possible. So lastly, let's talk a little bit about the governor race. So we've got Kelly Ayotte, who's on a 2-year term up for re-election in 2026. As of today, we've only got one Democratic challenger, and his name is John Kuiper. Lots of rumors always floating around about the Portsmouth governor might be getting, or the Portsmouth mayor might be getting in the race. Cindy Warmington, Princess Pharma might be getting in the race. Like all of these people are kind of circling, but it is very interesting that we are now almost in January of 2026. We have one candidate running in New Hampshire, who's John Kuiper, who you and I both know. It's kind of an interesting moment, right? But the Democrats are very hesitant about supporting him. which has been kind of an interesting dynamic to watch play out as somebody who's coming in new to a lot of this.
I find the whole John Kuiper thing like a bit of first of all, I find John Kuiper to be a bit of an enigma, but I do think the whole John Kuiper race and how the Democratic Party is responding to him is so weird, because you would think John Kuiper is their perfect candidate. Seriously, and I say that with love. Because John Kuiper has a different kind of demographic, he has a bit of a different strategy he's running, I think. And maybe he has to a certain extent, because you're going to need more voters to show up than any of these other races, even though the Senate race historically gets a lot of votes too. But you're going to have to sell yourself to moderate Republicans in a way that doesn't sell off like our values, the things that we find important. And I feel like that is maybe an impossible, okay, let me just, without making it too complicated, is his strategy better selling himself to the people to his right, or is his strategy better just being an insurgent left-wing, hardcore left-wing, not when I say hardcore, like the rest of these candidates, right? Where he comes out strong for Medicare for all. He comes out strong for, defunding ICE. He comes out strong for paid family leave. He's coming out strong for marijuana legalization. I know he is part on that train, another populist thing, but I'm of the opinion now we are past convincing the liberal establishment that this is the way. Now it's time to convince the other 70% of primary voters who are not showing up why they need to show up September 8th and make a difference. And I do believe John Kuiper, if he knows, if I was part of his campaign, I would tell him that your success, if you play this correctly, the best way to play this is your success will fall in line with the success of the other progressive voters, of the other progressive candidates, rising all the ships. You need to, because it's going to be a lot harder by yourself if you have to run away from the left and the right. You're on an island now. Who are you going to, and maybe it's time to show what the new Democratic Party looks like. I know Kuiper is a moderate, but maybe it's time to...
It's interesting you say that. I was just thinking that, I think that when you sit and if you ever sit and watch John Kuiper's lives on TikTok, he'll answer any fucking question you ask. He will answer any question you ask exactly off the dome, whatever comes up to his head. And it's just no filter. And I love that.
Me too.
I appreciate it. And sometimes he'll say things, specifically there was one night he was talking a lot about parental leave, family leave, and consideration for the birthing person and all of that. When I was like, is John Kuiper the wokest feminist in the race right now? And I'm not saying that to blow smoke up anyone's ass, but I think he sincerely is willing to go very far. He's willing to be this is really hindering our ability as a society to move forward, and so I'm gonna suggest bold change. And I think there's a lot of value in that. And yeah, to be attacked by both the Republicans and the Democrats in this moment is a very interesting place. We can talk briefly about let me just check the time. We can talk briefly about the poetry scandal of it all if you want for a moment, but for those who didn't see it, John Kuiper wrote a colorful book of poetry in 2013. It was not a book of poetry I would have read and enjoyed, right?
Poetry's a stretch. I don't know.
It wasn't for me, right? Were there things that I would was there anything that I want to frame and put on my wall? No, probably not. Were there things that I would want to read in front of a crowd? No. But it was such an obvious hit job by the Democrats. It was such an we're going to stir up this controversy about how people are offended. No one was offended.
No one was offended.
WMUR, I think, was it Adam Sexton, just went digging for
I was offended by WMUR's coverage of it.
Right.
Even more than the book itself,
Cover actual drama, cover anything that's real, cover policy, cover things. Don't try to just and we've talked about this a lot. I won't bring up Graham Plattner because that will send us. We will be here very late if I do. I will not get you started on Graham Plattner. But like to the same point, the point that we talked about with that is like we all do have to get a little bit more comfortable with if we want working class candidates, we have to embrace people that are not presenting as politicians in the way that we expect, right? And that means people who have colorful pasts, who have said things. I respect he took ownership of some of the things that he said that were not good, that don't hold up, and weren't good at the time. And I appreciate him taking ownership of that because that's a big piece of it too, is saying like, hey, I said things. I started the show by saying like, I was a freaking Republican and I was popping off on Twitter for years. For years. I did delete it. Mostly just out of shame and the Elon Musk of it all. But like these things we have to get more comfortable with them. And so I'm willing to do that. I hope others are willing to do the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I hear these words all the time, purity testing, right? Like we have been purity testing ourselves into oblivion now. And it's gotten to the point, I don't know if you noticed this with the John Kuiper story, it almost had the reverse effect. Like when we see that in the news now, like we see through it out from a mile away. Bro, do you see what the president's doing right now? Like you want me to show, like the Republicans coming out. That's a whole, listen, I know Democrats, but Republicans coming out and complaining like, hey, why are you going to vote for this guy over this book as you're passing child marriage laws and, supporting a PDF, like it's surreal to me. And again, this is what I mean by the populist insurgent nature of politics right now. Everyday people, moms, teachers, workers, they look at that and they're like, that's bullshit.
Right.
That is such bullshit. I can't afford rent. Dude.
He worked in a kitchen. What do you like? The people. Have you ever worked at a restaurant? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like people have colorful. And it's there's colorful language that we use when we're behind a fry later.
And the most I want is to be a normal person, which is you take accountability. You don't hide from it. You don't ever you don't lie about it. You say the truth and you learn from it. And I think that's what a human does. And if we, like you said, if we want people like us to be in these spaces, we need to give them the grace to be human, we need to give them the grace to be 20 at some point, to be 22 at some point. Me and you have talked about, could anything like that come out about either of us? For me personally, I wouldn't be surprised. And again, it would be very hard for me to imagine but maybe I used language that was questionable. And if someone ever brought that up to me and they showed me, I wouldn't get mad at them. I'd be like, that's fucked up if I ever said that.
I did ask Arya about what his Oppo research was the other day. I was like, is there ever anything that's going to come out that's going to make me really fucking upset that I've been doing all these lives with you?
And I'm so blessed to come from a good family. But here's the thing. I don't know what people are going to feel like is again, I'm not saying that cancel culture is something, but I don't know if someone's going to find a poetry book. I don't find a poetry book offensive, and all of a sudden the media machine is going to find a big poetry book. These are the types of things I can't control. And I'm certainly not justifying any times were different, obviously. I don't care what the excuse is for that. I just think generally that we need to afford people to be human. We don't want suits. Start acting like it, And Graham Plattner's the perfect example of that, really. Yeah.
Hitting my button.
Yeah, you hit your button.
All right, so we're going to wrap it up. Couple calls to action for people. I really, as we're heading into the new year, I want your New Year's resolution to really be what can I do for this movement? And it does not have to be getting on TikTok and making videos. If you want to, that's great. But even if it's becoming the political friend that tells everyone you know about the candidate you like. You don't have to like all those candidates. That's the thing. Everyone we like, you don't have to like them. Pick one, ideally, and start talking to the people in your life about who these people are. Host a party. Offer to host a party. Heath's got 2 New Year's Eve parties coming up, one in Manchester, one in Dover, if you want to go to his Facebook page to collect signatures to get on the ballot. Host a party for a bunch of your friends and have the candidate come, or invite the candidate to your whatever party and be that friend who invites politicians to parties. It's weird. I don't know why I'm harping so hard on the parties thing. It's top of mind right now. But find a way that you can do something, even if it's just talking to your friends about these folks. We need to get the name recognition needs to get up there quickly. If you're able to donate money, that's great. If you're able to donate time, I think that's often even better. If you're able to, all these people are looking for volunteers to make phone calls, to show up at events, things like that. Get on one of these guys' lists and volunteer in some way, shape, or form. Show up on January 8th. We're going to be there in Merrimack, outside the Merrimack town hall meeting, where they're going to be talking about the ICE facility that's being proposed in that community. We want to push back very aggressively that New Hampshire is not in support of any of this ICE activity, specifically these incredibly inhumane treatment that we're seeing. And so that's what we're thinking about. Any CTAs from you? What do you want the people to do?
Yeah, I mean, I would love for everyone to, just a personal CTA, if you guys can go to page4newhampshire.com. That's one of my favorite people, not just a candidate. And we are not taking any corporate PAC money. We're not taking any APAC money. Everything is grassroots, and it's insurgent in nature. We're hoping not to need as much money. We're definitely going to make less money than Maggie Goodlander, but we are, it's imperative we're able to support the basic things that we're trying to do to send the message out. Big shout out to Discord. Get on the Discord. We're gonna advertise that big time. Discord is what connects everything now. It's very difficult. We are on so many different platforms. We're live streaming on 2 or 3 platforms with a whole bunch of different devices. But Discord allows us to kind of connect everything in one place. To have it's like a meeting board. It's a message board. Where we can all connect. And if you're here on Twitch and TikTok, we normally have a YouTube stream up too. All of our old recordings are on YouTube. It's NHTOK, NH Talk. You'll find all of our old recordings, including this one, will end up going up there at some point. And September 8th is the most important day of your life, if you're living in New Hampshire, okay?
Just create
September
a calendar
8th.
invite and invite
there.
everyone in your
Yes.
phone.
You have no idea how close you are to power. We're so close. One day. We have to show up one day. So.
Thank you guys for joining in the chat. Thank you for being here. For those of you who are here in person, thank you so much. It was nice to meet some folks for the first time. Pat, thank you so much, Pat Lynch, for being here and making this all look so good. The idea was to use tonight as a test case and see what we could do. And if the only thing that didn't work was that we don't have YouTube live, I'll call that a successful night.
Absolutely.
So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for being in the chat. We'll see you next time.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye. Thank you guys.